Imagine a metropolis with a 100% urbanization rate, a city layered with over 300 skyscrapers reaching into the clouds, and sprawling data centers buried deep underground. It is a manufacturing titan that produces 70% of the world's commercial drones. Now, rewind to 1979. Absolutely none of this existed. The area was a primitive border town consisting mostly of farming and fishing communities. The initial catalyst for growth was Beijing granting the area a policy blank check to experiment as a special economic zone. But the government provided almost zero physical or academic infrastructure to support that experiment. So how do you engineer a global tech superpower out of thin air when you start with massive deficits in space, infrastructure, academia, and local population? To survive its lack of tech infrastructure, Shenzhen originally operated as a low-end world factory, relying almost entirely on assembling simple electronics for foreign brands. Then, in the 1990s, local leadership executed a brutal strategy known as empty the cage for new birds. They intentionally pushed out those low-end manufacturers in order to force the local economy into a high-tech evolution. The result of that forced evolution is Huaqiangbei, the most incredibly dense and capable hardware ecosystem on the planet. This map visualizes the city's 1-kilometer innovation circle. A creator can source any microchip, mold, or component from specialized suppliers. That proximity enables ridiculous speed. A raw idea becomes a working physical prototype in just 3 days. But building those prototypes requires engineers, and Shenzhen faced a massive deficit in elite institutions. Unlike Beijing or Shanghai, the city had no historical academic powerhouses to drive basic research. This chart displays the city's enterprise-led solution, often called the 490s. Over 90% of research funding, personnel, institutions, and patents are generated entirely inside corporate labs, completely bypassing universities. By skipping traditional academia, Shenzhen allowed brutal free market efficiency to become its primary engine for technological invention. That efficiency relies on a highly unusual workforce. Over 60% of the population are transplants, resulting in an average age of just 33. To govern a city of strangers, Shenzhen digitized its civic systems to remove guangxi. Guangxi is a Chinese term for personal networks and relationships that facilitate business. Removing it created a hyper-competitive, meritocratic culture where anyone who arrives is considered a local. Yet all those young workers are confined by a severe geographic deficit. The entire hypercity is squeezed into less than 2,000 square kilometers of available land for development. To maximize real estate, urban planners engineered a 3-dimensional spatial solution. They built an extreme vertical skyline above ground and a complex, multi-layered network underground. Despite this intense concrete density, the local government enforces strict ecological redlines that protect 24% of the land from any commercial development. They also implemented sponge city engineering, an urban design model that uses permeable surfaces and wetlands to naturally absorb and reuse rainwater. This infrastructure allows high urban density to safely coexist with sensitive wildlife, like the endangered black-faced spoonbill. By treating its difficult geography and demographics as a literal blank slate, Shenzhen engineered a hyper-efficient 3-dimensional green machine. But extreme optimization comes with a severe human cost. Brutal housing prices mean it takes an average family 50 years of income to afford a single home. As a result, the massive migrant workforce relies on hyper-dense Chengjiangsun. Chengjiangsun are tightly packed, organically developed urban villages that offer the only viable, affordable living spaces in the city. Then there is the psychological toll of Shenzhen speed. Shenzhen speed is a term describing the city's relentless, hyper-competitive work culture. This environment drives high burnout rates, severe isolation, and a massive surge in demand for therapy among young professionals. Yet, despite these immense pressures, the city refuses to stop iterating. It is now pivoting heavily toward deep space, deep sea, and quantum technologies to escape the middle-income trap. The middle-income trap is an economic situation where a rapidly growing country stagnates and fails to transition to a high-value, advanced economy. Shenzhen stands as China's ultimate proof of concept. It proves that with absolute pragmatism, data-driven rules, and a relentless drive to iterate, a blank slate can become the blueprint for the human future.